Hello, everybody. Welcome to Catfish Weekly, episode 59. Tonight we're just going to be talking about catfish. I myself am pretty sick. I'm probably not going to be doing a lot of talking. But I'll jump in a little bit here and there. But yeah, if you guys have questions or you want to talk about something in particular in chat or whatever, post it up and we'll try to talk about it a little bit, but we're gonna probably just jump all over the place and talk about whatever tonight. So, um, go ahead and kick it off for us there if you want, Chuck.
Yeah, I was wanting to go over some, what everybody does, what they look for when they mark spots. When they're, out free fishing or just riding around the lake, fun fishing or whatever. Um, at first I was loading up my chart with, every tree I would find and all this, but now, I've got to where you eye out stuff more and you're more picky about what you mark. And, I'm a lot better in knowing, where to go start looking, the way the current's swinging around the river, where a creek may be coming out, and I'll just go look in little certain areas and mark stuff now instead of just everything when I go down the river bank. Um, Lyle, what do you look for when you're going around marking spots and so you can go back and fish them later?
Well, we when we go out for a tournament or fun fishing, either one, it's basically the same thing. We do a lot of looking in different areas, and one of my favorite places to look at is off the ends and behind wing dikes, even in front of them sometimes. Those type of spots seem to work really well for me. I like creek channels where they come in, and I'll check below them, above them, out right in front of where a creek will dump in, and if there's a color change on the water, if it's stained coming out of the creek and clear in the main river or lake, uh, to me that's an ideal spot. Also, along places like that, you'll usually find some structure, brush piles, and different things like that. And even if I don't mark a fish, sometimes I'll fish there knowing they should be there. But most of the time, with the side imaging, down imaging, and the 2D sonar, usually if there's one in there, you'll get to find him without a whole lot of trouble. But there is times when current is so much where we're at that you won't pick them up and they'll still be there. But those are some of my key areas that I really like to look for. In the summertime, when we're drift fishing, I like to get out in the main current on the river and search those spots out because a lot of times they'll be holding fish, and we'll make a pass up through an area and then move over 30, 40 feet or more and make another pass up through it. And if I don't see something, fairly quick, then we'll move on to another area. But uh, a lot of it also depends on whether it is a lake or a river, what kind of body of water we're fishing. But those are key areas for me. And I know when we was down in Alabama, you and I talked a little bit, Chuck, about structure on Wheeler, and compared to the lakes that I have around here, there's a lot of structure on Wheeler. Um, some of the lakes up here we have some structure, but usually it's not. Or if there's a structure like that around here, I haven't found too much of it. Like I say, there's some areas that have some, and those places like that, I'm really looking for them creek channels where they dump in and stuff like that. But for the most part, we don't have the amount of structure in our lakes that what you guys have down there. I was amazed at the amount of structure in Wheeler. I really was. There was a lot of stuff going on, and nearly every place we went down there held fish. So it was pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, these lakes down here, they were, the Tennessee River was getting dammed up in the 30s and 40s. They didn't prepare very much when they, flooded them rivers. If you get right out of the main river channel, you'll see, barns, you'll still see old fence rows. You may see, you know, all kind of road beds. If you're looking in the shallow flats on your graph, on your chart, you'll see, road beds, all kind of stuff, and house foundations. And you start picking those things out. They make some really good heavy structure to fish. I fished some stuff that, like an old barn. Um, you could tell how it was still fell over. You could still see, the corners on the foundation. Um, you know, a lot of it wasn't there still, but the footprint of it was still there. And stuff like that I always hold really good fish. Um, you know, a story I heard about Gunnersville, when they dammed it up, it went a totally different way, filled up a totally different way than they thought it would. They had some areas ready, and it totally went another way, and filled up a bunch of pastures, and just about a whole city that it wasn't even supposed to get near.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, when they planned it. So a lot of these impounded lakes that have been dammed up, they're just full of structure, flooded timber. You got woods that was just flooded out. The treetops probably stuck out of the water at the time, and it just makes great fishing.
We
Um,
got Truman Lake of the Ozarks, where I do quite a bit of fishing actually, and uh, Truman especially has a lot of standing timber. And I know when the bait gets up in them areas, I'll come back away from that a little bit, and I'll fish the areas back away from where the bait is at. And it seems to me like that I can't ever catch the fish under the bait, but the ones back away from it, they're like staging to get in there or something. And those are the fish I try to target when I find an area like that.
yeah, when I got this small hummingbird, I saved up and I got the max I could get, and it was like I got it used. Um, well, a guy got it new on a boat, and he had a bigger one, so it was new used, but it was a whopping $1,100, and the things I started doing with it right off the bat, that I was watching every video I could, and marking a spot, um, as you're going over it, and bringing your cursor over to it, marking that exact same structure even after you've already passed it, and it's showing up on the exact grid coordinates, and you can go back up river, 100 feet from it or 150 feet from it, and know exactly how far you are to that exact log you marked. I mean, that stuff was just blowing my mind, and it totally changed the way I fished.
And
But
it does. It changes the way a lot of times that I'll set up on fish.
oh yeah, and,
One
and
one real quick thing that a lot of people seem to forget about like precision anchoring and things is the where their actual bait and line drops, it actually pulls closer to the boat on the deeper the water, and they forget that.
hmm
So you have to think about if you're actually 30 yards back and you're 30 or 40 feet deep, you might need to give another, 15 yards out on your cast to get that bait to actually fall right there.
yeah, that
Even with just a little bit of pressure of free spooling and everything, if you've got a little bit on it, it's still going to pull closer to the boat.
yeah, that's why I like on side imaging. It shows uh, the length away from the boat. It also includes the depth of the water channel. So, if you're when you're straight down, it shows you're at 30 foot right there, and then 30 foot from that you're at 60. So really 30 foot from straight below the boat's really 30 foot out, but on side imaging it's telling you 60 foot. So when you cast, you cast that extra 30 foot, and then after it sinks, it'll swing on in and hit about in the right spot. Coming out the back of the boat, you don't have your side imaging to measure that, but You know, when you're a fishing structure that's off to the side and you're trying to get
Just froze up.
Yep.
heavy structure out on the side, that's the way I do it. I just look at the total feet and I know about how far I need to cast for it to swing down and hit in the right spot.
All
Yeah,
right.
there's a lot of times where I almost like to have, like where I'm wanting to fish at, I would almost prefer the back of my boat be 5 yards away from it. So I don't have to sling real hard and I know how deep I am. I can just cast it out and 15 yards out or whatever, and I know that I'm going to get right in that hole.
Yeah, but I've also noticed, especially fishing aluminum boats, um, the further back I get, it seems like the faster they hit. I think when you're really close, the echoes of the aluminum boat and stuff, and plus the shadow that's coming down on them, they know something's going on up there, and they're a lot more skittish. But I like fishing closer to the boat too. But it seems like when I cast out further, I get hits quicker than if I'm fishing, more vertical or at 45-degree angle. It I don't know. I think the noises around the boat and some banging and weights hitting and stuff like that. I think it can really spook fish when you get really close to them.
You think it's worse doing that on rivers or lakes, Chuck?
What's that?
The way noise affects them.
Uh, I think it's worse on lakes.
I
I,
think
I
I think
think that.
I think lakes too. I think especially big rivers and stuff, the fish are so used to barges that are clanking and all the
Yep.
boat traffic and
Yep. I agree too. I
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, I think it makes a huge difference at night.
Oh yeah.
Nighttime, you know, I totally use, I believe in noise discipline probably more than light discipline at nighttime. I'd rather the flashlight skim across the water 4 or 5 times than drop a number 10 sinker in the bottom of my boat.
Yeah. I can see that. Of course, we have a pretty good floor in the boat, our boat, and it's got carpet, and I'm thinking about doing away with that and putting in rubber mats, just because they're easier to clean and such as that. But any sound deadening at all will help a great deal. And you're right, if you have an aluminum bottom boat with no floor in it, that's got to be detrimental to your fishing if you're dropping weights like that in it or something else. But everybody has whatever it is that's comfortable or works for them as far as fishing. But anything that noise deadening and stuff. And I agree. At night, there is a big difference, and shadows and stuff really don't bother me all that much because most of the time the water where I'm at is muddy enough that it's not going to affect them down after 4 or 5 feet at most. So that doesn't really make a whole lot of difference to me.
Yeah, I read a book. I read an article with Jim Moyer, and he had in his article that he would be putting his very last pole out, and if he dropped an anchor in the boat, he would reel everything in and go find another spot.
And Jim's a good old guy, really outstanding fisherman. So, if he believes in that, it's worth thinking about. I guarantee you.
Oh yeah, I mean that it totally surprised me that he would do that, but he said dropping that sinker in the bottom of the boat could mean you just that's his trophy hunting. When he was out trophy hunting, that's he said that right there just lost a big one. He
Well, and guys like Jim Moyer is in his day is someone like to me like Jason Matheny is now, and Ryan Casey and Jason Jackson, some of them guys that I guarantee you, if Jason Matheny tells me that if I drop a sinker in a boat, I ain't gonna catch a fish, I'm taking that to heart because Jason is such a good fisherman. He puts a lot of great fish in the boat. But uh, when Jim Moyer or some of them old guys that has been doing this all their life and with tons more years experience than all of us, when they say something like that, it's kind of like E.F. Hutton. You better have your ears open and be listening.
Oh yeah, the article I was reading was wintertime catfishing, and he didn't say that explain it all the time if he would do it at any time, but he was just talking about if he was hunting a trophy catfish and if he dropped the weight in the boat, he would move right then. So that's the noise discipline is very very important. You can go out with a bunch of friends and have five people in the boat and be hooting and hollering and catch pulling some fish in the boat. But if you're after that personal best or whatever, that's I'm very very particular about it.
Yeah, and where you're at, you've got a, every time you go out, Wheeler reminds me so much of going to fish in St. Louis, and with all the commercial fishing we have up here, St. Louis is one of the bright spots in our area because every time you go down there, you got a chance at a state or world record, and Wheeler's like that too. And when you make the trip down there to places like that, you don't want anything to deter you from the possibility of a great fish. So, if it means not dropping a sinker, then you tie a strap on it and hold it to your butt or whatever. That way you don't make the noise or you don't put the light out or whatever it is that you think is causing you a problem. You want to make sure that you got every opportunity to land that great fish.
Oh yeah.
Well, Scott Manning in chat said that this week they raised over $7,000 in donations for the Fishing for Soldiers and Wounded Warriors project, and he wants to give a great big thanks to Whisker Ware, Captain Mike Mitchell, both who donated, and our Catfish Weekly fans. So big thank you to everybody.
Awesome.
That's a very worthwhile project they got going down there, and I know Chuck, former military, and Scott is too. I mentioned it before. Both my sons was in the Army, so it's very dear to me. And people that's helping them out. Anytime that you get an opportunity to help our soldiers, you need to make sure you do it because they've earned it and we owe it to them.
Yeah, so yeah, as far as the noise and stuff, myself, I think that shallow water, the same thing with like I guess the people that say having your fish finder turned on. They feel it affects flatheads more than other fish, but also other fish in the shallower water. That's kind of the way I think of it. I mean, there's plenty of times where I just chunk my anchor out in front of the boat, and I've caught plenty of decent fish when I'm anchored up, and I've just plunked it out there. And there's also times where I try to gently slip that anchor in the water as quietly as possible. I guess it's just how deep the water is, what I'm doing exactly, and
Yeah,
Well, go ahead, Chuck.
yeah, that anchor can it can make a lot of noise too. That's why having rubber mats and stuff up on your front deck, and if you have a nice anchor storage, have it nice and padded because when you get to that spot, and most of the time you're starting to start go the current's taking you back at about 2 mile an hour and you're doing everything in a hurry. So have that anchor ready and you try not to bump it on your boat because it could ruin your day.
when I was talking about doing when you throw the anchor out in the current, that your rope makes a lot of noise in the water, and that they like to tie off to a tree or just use the trolling motor.
Oh yeah, it makes a lot. It whistles under that water, big time.
One of the things that's going on around me, and I know it's just, it could be something that happens, I guess, around the country. And one of the things that I'm noticing is that we have what they're calling the Mounds Lake Project, and it's basically a project that they're in like stage 3 of the development, and the logistics and everything like that, and they're thinking of damming up the White River. Uh, Basically, the town below me, about 25, 30 minutes away, um, and basically having the White River, have a nice, I think like a 2,100 acre reservoir. Um, One thing I've noticed though with a lot of things like this is that even though the area that they're talking about and they're proposing is, I'd have to call it just an almost unused area for the most part. I mean, it's a lot of just dead land. It used to, like an old town that used to be good. It's not got anything there. A couple houses now. Something where, to me, I can see benefits of it, having the water storage, having, just, they're talking about, when you have a place like that, the waterfront, acreage and stuff, it improves the property values in the area. You start to see nicer communities coming in, things like that. Of course, for us, we see a new fishing area, but you see a lot of resistance against it, and I almost feel that it's one of the things we do as humans, where a lot of us don't like change, and it doesn't matter what the change is. It's the fact that it's changed, and they're going to fight it with everything they have because it's change. And that's kind of what I see right now with going on with this. I see a lot of people who are totally against it with no real reason.
There's a lot of that goes on, and we went through some of that with the regs on Truman Lake Ozark, and hell, the people didn't even know what kind of fish there was in the water, but they didn't want it because it was new, and even though it's better, and in the back of their mind, they'll never make me believe that they didn't know it was better, at least for the fish, that they wanted to fight it, and sometimes I think they just want to fight things to be fighting something.
Yeah. By the way, last week we're sorry that it cut off and it had technical difficulties. It wasn't on our end; it was on Google Hangouts end where it had the problem. We actually went ahead and recorded a whole probably hour and 10 minute show, and unfortunately that it stopped recording after that 39-minute mark. And so the whole rest of the show that we recorded is gone.
There was
But
a
we
lot
did.
of stuff on the back end of that show
Yeah,
too.
it got real good after it cut off for you guys, man. That was when it got entertaining, really. No. There was some good stuff in there though. But yeah, it definitely, we were hoping that people could go back and just watch it, afterwards, and it didn't end up working out that way. Um, but we apologize. Slackline Catter, I think his name is it Russ? I think it might have been Russ or Ross or something like that is his name. Um,
Ross
he was
Scott.
Ross Scott, yeah. He's the one who won for the giveaway for the hoodie, where he got the order in first and uh got the information to Rob Cloudfelder that he was sent by Catfish Weekly. So hopefully you guys went out and ordered some stuff from him anyway, and you got some nice hoodies and shirts and stuff on the way, and you get to show them off. Make sure you post up some pictures and stuff on our Facebook page. We definitely want to see people showing off their whisker wear and letting people know that Catfish Weekly and everything's helping advertise for them and everything. So, but yeah, the one of the things that I would really like to see it happen is just that the the Mounds Lake that they're talking about, the White River, pretty much from my it starts not far east of me, and it's only about 2 foot deep most of the time, if that. A lot of guys wade it and smallmouth it and stuff like that. I do know there's spots and stuff on this stretch of the river that we found now that hold 30 and 40 pound flatheads, but there's no blues really. They're very rare if there are any. I'd like to see an area where I could go 20 minutes from home and have a real chance at decent flatheads being out in my boat and some blues. I'd like to see blues come up above that dam and get into that section of the water, and they'd be able to hold in that lake area. So, um, besides that, one of the other things that I'd like to talk about is the getting ready. Everybody getting ready. What are you doing to your boats? And you know, for your new year, do you go through and are you rewiring things? Or that's what I'm getting ready to do. I'm getting ready to rewire a whole new switch panel in, and I got new seats coming for my boat. I got the Onyx sitting right here behind me, and um, I got the Altera on order and everything, but I got to clean it out. My boat is absolutely, it's been sitting in the garage. It's disgusting. I got to get in there and clean it out real good. I am thinking about doing what Lyle said there too, getting some of them rubber mats and reflooring the boat basically with those colored like purple rubber mats and stuff, purple and red and blue or whatever colors they got. But
I'm thinking pink in your boat would be real nice, or banana yellow, something like that.
yeah, to match my thong.
Yeah.
Yeah, building a new live well. What do you guys got going on? Chuck and Lyle,
I'm,
you guys doing anything on your boats or?
I'm still trying to get the ignition switch put in. I got it all wired up and everything, if it's all wired correctly, and I'm sure it is, but I got to put it back in the dash. I'll be going down to, are you hot? Cold?
Jason said my glare off my head was killing me. So
That's really good. I want to, generally clean it all up, and it's springtime, so that means it's time to pack the wheel bearings and everything, and make sure that they're all good to go for the year. I used to do it twice a year, but here lately I've been down to once a year, and that's seemed to work out really well. But new seals and pack the wheel bearings and check the tires over, and I inspect all the wires, make sure they're all tied up and everything while I'm down there underneath of it, and lower unit gear grease, change out every year, and check spark plugs and stuff to make sure they're all good. And I don't like having problems out on the water. It happens enough sometimes anyhow, but if you can prevent any of it, that's just a few more maintenance-free trips. I don't. What all you get ready, Chuck?
Well, I don't have very much to do. I think I've got it all about done. I'm just gonna, I got that Bimini top on, and it's only in the way. But so
I would like to get a Bimini too as well, but
I'm gonna have to use it for emergencies only. If it's 100% chance of rain. If not, I'm gonna get wet because that sucker's in the way.
Well, mine's not too bad. Mine sets pretty far forward in the boat. The only issue I have with mine is it makes it a little tough to cast sometimes. But if I get up on the live well, then I can throw it all right, or I can throw from the front. But standing right where the seats are, it is a little tough to cast. But if you're not casting too far, it doesn't bother anything at all. But the thing I like about them boys are the amount of sun on a really hot day. They knock the sun off of you and keep you from getting burnt to a crisp. And it seems like if there's any wind at all, it'll come up underneath one of them tops and give you a little breeze, and it means a lot to us old heavy duty guys.
I think I'm gonna flip mine around, and instead of leaning it toward the back, I'm just gonna flip flop it and lean it toward the front deck, and just take my back support poles and put them in the front, and that way it'll still be on the boat. I can still be able to walk under it, and being up there, it won't be in the way like it is in the back.
That's a good idea.
It'll look a little silly, but it'll be ready.
a couple of the guys in the chat here, I heard a couple of them say Onyx, and I do know that Onyx is, I had my order in, and I was waiting for maybe 2 months or so to get mine, and so I just got it. I would imagine that they would start shipping the Onyxes out just about any time. I do know that after I think it might be the 2.0 update's the last one, but I know they're working on another update, and it's going to be a big update. It might be a couple months out or whatever, but it's a big update, and it's going to do a lot of things, especially with Auto Chart Live and things like that, I believe. So that being told, also a couple people on there were saying Helix, and I've been hearing a lot of good things about this Helix unit, and I've been hearing that the 2D imaging was like very good on the Helix units, that they're seeing almost the same 2D from the Helix as they are from the Onyx. So I definitely think that that's Humminbird trying to update, their stuff and trying to be the best out there, especially with some of the budget series finders that they have.
Well, and that's what all the quality companies that produce quality stuff will try to do is stay up on top of technology and make their product as good as they possibly can, as rapidly as they can, and try to stay up on top of the market for as long as they can. And Hummingbird and Rance, all them guys do a really good job of that, and they're always coming up with new stuff and new technology, and it's just all that competition is just better for us as fishermen.
I hope this is better for you, Jason, because I'm hot back here, and now here I got this shirt on my head.
I'd say he just needs to get a pair of sunglasses.
Yeah, get some sunglasses, Jason. I'm sick. Coming out of my shiny head.
Yeah, Justin and Tabitha tore it up again. They did pretty good for that river being like it was when they went
I'm
down.
telling you right now, them two got it going on. They took a gentleman with them this weekend, and he done, if I read correctly, put the biggest fish in the boat of the weekend.
Yeah, and Jason Kittner with Catfishing America, he's heading back to the East Coast, and he's going to be staying with Ray Stitcher for I think 12 days, and they're going to be fishing the Potomac and the James River every day for 12 days. So we're going to be seeing a lot of good pictures coming in, I do believe.
Well, Jason Kittner and I have been friends online for a long time, and I had the privilege of meeting Jason down at the Monsters last year, and I really wanted to. Jason put some really, really good fish in the boat over a few years, and the last few years, and I noticed this morning he had put up a picture of him and my little buddy Jacob Stitcher out there, and just what a pig! I mean, that was a giant fish, and Jason is good for catfishing for a lot of reasons, and I know he helps with the show they do out there, but he's just a really fine guy, and him and Ray will have so much of a good time out there. And if Rena and Jacob gets to go with them, it'll just make it that much better. But I know they're really gonna put some time in. Ray's all excited. I mean, he's put some posts up where they're gonna be doing all this fishing, and I'm like you, I'm looking forward to see the pictures that these guys put up, so for us to see.
Yeah, well, from what I understand, Jason Kittner started off fishing with Robbie Robinson, and went flathead fishing with him all the time. Then when he moved out to Virginia, he went fishing with Captain Hugh all the time.
You don't get much better than those two.
So he's pretty much got the all the knowledge he needs to be able to do what he needs.
Well, now I know there's a lot of great flathead fishermen across the country. There's a guy out in Kansas, and his name has eluded me for a minute, but he does a lot of flathead fishing. But there's not. I honestly believe Robbie Robinson is probably the greatest flathead fisherman in the United States at this particular time. He just year after year puts some of the best fish in the boat of anybody I know. He releases them so they can go again, and he's just a real good guy for the sport. And you guys that don't see some of Robbie's pictures, you need to look him up. Some of the forums or on Facebook and look through some of these pictures, these flatheads this guy puts in boats. And he's a really nice guy. I talk to Robbie every once in a while, and he's just a really cool guy to talk with, and he is the flathead man.
He figures out lakes. He just don't go sit on the river bank. He targets them lakes and he chases them around to where he thinks they're going to be, and he fishes for them. So.
Well, and he fishes out of a pontoon.
Oh yeah, and the bank. They'll take their baits out, bank fish, and take their baits out with the canoe and drop the bait in the water and bring it back, and they do some sharp stuff when they go out.
Yep. He's just a really good, like I say, all that's my opinion, but I've followed Robbie for the last several years and seen some just absolutely pigs that he's caught, and he does some video stuff and posts that up every once in a while, and he posts pictures and videos of them releasing the fish, and like I say, He's just a really cool guy. There's been a couple of articles in some of the catfishing magazines about Robbie, and he's just the man right now for flatheads.
Yeah, he and he spent a lot of time on forums and stuff, helping people out.
Absolutely.
He's answered every question anybody's ever asked him honestly, and
Yep.
he gets on there and volunteers everything he knows. He's not worried about telling you what he does.
No, he don't. He's not. And he don't. I don't believe. Now, I'm not 100% on this, but I don't believe Robbie really cares anything about tournament fishing, and that's fine.
Yeah.
If I could catch fish like he does, I would be a lot more interested in tournament fishing. And I'm already ate up with it. So, but yeah, he really he's the king of flatheads in my mind. And I've talked to him about coming on the show, and he don't have stuff set up where he can do that, and that's a shame because I think he would be a really, really good guy to have on the show.
Yeah, he's caught some big blues too.
Oh yeah.
I think he's may have fished with Hugh also too. I'm not sure.
You know, there's another guy right there that we haven't mentioned too much, but Captain Hugh Self is one of the premier guides in the United States, and he's a genuine guy too. He does things for the right reasons. He's good for the sport. I don't know anybody that ever been on a trip with him that didn't have just everything good to say about him and nothing negative. So that in itself speaks volumes to me. And he's a Cardinals fan. What better could it be than that? He'll like some of the posts I put up about the Cardinals, especially with these clowns like Janet and them guys are on me about that. And by the way, Claude and Janet, I got my new Cardinal shirt on tonight. I'm proud of it, and even though you guys are Reds fans, we don't hold that against you.
I hold it against all you baseball fans.
Why do you think I have a radio on my boat? It's to listen to the Cardinals, man.
When they start tackling each other, that's when it's a real sport.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that too, though.
I've talked to some guys that went out with Hugh, and they were like, man, when we got out, I was really second thinking in what everybody said about. He had us up in 4 foot of water, telling it, he's like, I didn't think we'd catch nothing, and all of a sudden, as soon as you get a bite, you could see the fish swirl. It was so shallow.
That's fun right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the big.
We had a question. We had a question in chat there. It said, "What do you guys think about opinions on having electronics over the ability of reading the water?" And Clint even said that leave your fish finder at the house and go read the water. It's been good for him, but it's been awful on his prop.
I can appreciate that. I'll give an example of that, and I'll try to explain it. Danny Salfin, Danny, and I talk about Danny a lot, and I know a lot of you guys don't know him, but when I first started fishing tournaments, 20-some years ago or however long it's been, Danny Salfin and Bob Simmons and some of them guys, they was the people you beat. You went, the big tournaments was U.S. Cat tournaments, and when you showed up and they was there, you knew that's who you had to beat to win the money. And Danny Salfin, unless he upgraded over the winter, and I would doubt it very seriously, has got an old fish finder of some kind. I doubt if I know it don't have any new technology of any kind on it, but he can read that river, and he fishes it a lot of days every week. I never seen him use a trolling motor to drift with. I mean, he drags an anchor out of the front of his boat. He catches some giant fish, and a lot of them. And his knowledge is from reading the river. I mean, I promise you, he don't rely on that depth finder for anything but depth. And for the most part, I would bet that he don't need it. But Danny he's a really competitive fisherman, and he lays out some. He holds the record for Twisted Cat Outdoors tournaments. 3 fish limit. He weighed in 195.2 pounds. And boys, I'm telling you what, you don't get to see that every day, but he's consistently putting 3 good fish in the boat at every time we have a tournament down there. And a guy like that, if if he could tell you and would tell you, if you could take the information that someone like that has and put it together with the information that a Ryan Casey or some of these guys that are really, really good at reading electronics, Jason Mathena, some of them guys, Jason Jackson, if you could put the two of them together, you'd have something that would probably be unstoppable.
Brian Saunders says he has a Humminbird with down imaging.
Danny does. If that's the case, he's upgraded since the last time I seen his boat, because I never did see him with anything but just a little bitty old dinky thing in there. Didn't show nothing.
My opinion on it is that I guess I don't judge anybody. I mean, there's people who have the time to be on the water and it's not only. I think that's not only being able to read the water. It's the fact that you've been on it so much that you know where they go in certain conditions. And I guess, I mean, in a way that's reading water, but in another way that's just knowing the holes. You know what I mean? If you know the specific holes and you're going to fish the same 4 holes no matter basically what's going on, then you're not really reading the water. And the only advantage you have is the fact that you know that water better than the guy that doesn't. And the guy that doesn't gets that advantage back by using electronics. And that's, that has to be, if you want a sport to grow, you need to have both species of guys, I guess, out there, guys that have enough time to be on the water, and guys who are using their fish finders and stuff to locate things that, maybe even the guys who have always read the water never knew that there was something in a specific area that's holding fish. And, so there's definitely advantages both ways. So, I mean, I don't ever talk down or think less of somebody that relies solely on their gut and knowing the river, and I don't the same way with somebody who relies solely on electronics. Yeah, the guy with the gut instinct to be on the river has got a little bit more of an advantage because he has that time and the ability to be out there, and if something ever's wrong with a fish finder or something, he's not reliant upon it. But I definitely think there's other scenarios where the guys with the fish finders have the upper hand too. And I do think that I tell people a lot of times that with every fish finder, especially the high end fish finders like Onyxes and things like that, having that information is great and all, but you really have to be able to interpret that information. You have to understand what you're seeing on there. You have to learn and master that fish finder, and that can take years. And in those years, right now especially, things are changing. You're getting new stuff and new things that are showing up on your electronics. So you've got to learn all that stuff, and then they change it a little bit, and you have to learn it all over again in the new way.
Well, if anytime you go out with somebody fishing, whether it be at your boat or their boat, you can. We always visit about depth finders and settings and this and that, and it seems to me like everybody I've ever been with, I picked up something from them. I'm not sure it was the other way around. I mean, not sure they picked up anything from me, but I know I either seen something that I thought I should try or do, or something that I for sure did not want to do. And either way is something you're learning. And fishing is a learning experience nearly every time you go out. So if I went out with either one of you two, I'm sure in the boat we'd be bulling about something, and next thing you know, I'd pick up a tip that maybe you was intending to share or not intended to share. Either way, if you pick it up, it's still knowledge learned.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've got planned for this year was that while I was at that Indies Boat Sport and Travel Show, I was talking with a salmon charter captain that's up north here in Indiana on the Lake Michigan, and we got to talking about how the different ways that we catfish and drift and troll and things like that, and how we've taken a lot of what we do in catfishing from other species of fishing, and their techniques and using them in catfishing. And after talking about it, we decided that we'd do a trade-off. I'd go out fishing with him on his charter boat on Lake Michigan for like coho and steelhead and all that, and he would show me what he's doing, like with planer boards and the different techniques that they're using, and then I'll take him out and catfish with me and show him some of the things that I'm doing. And he even said that, he goes, especially as a guide captain and stuff like that, if you can pick up any little bit of knowledge from someone else and use that in your game while you've got clients and stuff, that just helps you as a businessman basically, and as a person being able to put fish in the boat.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
So I can't wait to do it. I mean, you never know if if it's one little thing that you pick up on, and you start doing it, and then you realize you might figure out that, that is what the Ryan Casey's and Massengales have been doing all along, and you just start destroying it. I mean, you figured out that one little thing, and it could be one little thing. You never really know. I mean, for us guys who do so and we're not on the top of the leaderboards all the time, we can't say for sure what that guy's doing that's on the top of the leaderboards. If we knew, we'd be there too.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's our everybody in this chat and everybody on here and everything. That's what we our strive is to be as best fishermen as we can, and to learn more and more. And I don't think there's ever been a person that knows everything there is. I think even the guys who are on top, might end up some other guy that tries something new and figures something out, might start beating them, and then he'll be on top until they figure it out.
Or the next guy, or the guy after that, and by then you better have come up with something new again.
Yeah. And like I'll tell people right now, and this is the God's honest truth. And you watch this show, we have these guys on, we have the Massengales on, we have Dodd on, we have ourselves on talking about some of the things that we do, and it really is, if we want this sport to grow, the guys who are even winning need to, at some point, they need to give away some secrets too. Because if you go back to episode 1 and you watch Catfish Weekly, you're going to see Lyle talk about how Bill Dance basically gave away everything he was doing to win the bass tournaments, to create the sport bigger, to really create bass fishing. Back before it was bass fishing, he wanted the competition. He wanted more people out there doing it, and in order for him to get more people out there, he told them exactly what he was doing to win tournaments. And that's kind of what we got to do in catfishing in ways. I mean, you don't got to do it, as soon as you figure something out, go out and tell everybody. But definitely, if you're not sharing it with somebody, and you're not, helping create the passion for the sport that we have and the competition, and you're just, trying to control it all for as long as you can, you're going to burn people out rather than entice them to be involved with it more.
Well, and I will say this: if whatever it is that Daryl and Jason Maskill's got going on, and Casey Tudorow, you guys need to come give me some of that stuff, because I ain't got it figured out. I'm getting tired of following you guys around, but I enjoy seeing what you do, and you guys are awesome. Casey Tudorow and John Masters have become, I have become one of their largest fans, and I don't know if they realize it or not, but those guys are so impressive with what they do, and they run around and are quiet and content, and they just absolutely consistently put fish in the boat. Daryl and Jason's another pair. They do the same thing. They go out and they'll pick to a place where they've never been before, and they'll get their fish and they'll be in the running just like Casey and John are. And then you throw a Jeff Dodd in there and a Jason Mathena, and some of these guys that just all the time they're right there, and you wonder what have they got figured out that I'm not doing, and sometimes I think, John Jameson's got something figured out, but a lot of John Jameson, I honestly think he is just such a student of fishing that he is a wealth of knowledge, and he knows when he goes to an area with the conditions and stuff he's fishing in. He knows where he's got to go to catch them. He knows what it's going to take to catch them. He's got a pretty good idea what bait it's going to be, and he consistently puts fish in the boat. And I fished against John a lot, and he don't always catch the biggest fish in the area, but he always catches his fish. I mean, he's got fish, and he's right there. And guys like that we can all learn from by either watching them or if they let something out at some point. But they're all tough, and it's not just those guys. Them are the ones that just come to top of my head right offhand. But there's a lot of great fishermen out there that are in that boat. They're kind of on a level playing field above a lot of the rest of us, and a lot of them will share information with you, and some of them don't, and they may not tell you everything, but if they give you a hint, you got to make the best out of that hint as you can.
Yeah, the slackline says, so Fudd is saying we can fish his spots to help the sport grow. Absolutely not. No. You've seen the end of every show. But in all reality, every spot where the biggest fish were caught to win the tournament was my spot. So that's the way I look at it. That was my spot. Whoever won the tournament, they were fishing my spot. So.
Yeah, Larry Mays didn't write up the same thing Chris talked about a while ago. He said, he'll show anybody anything they want to know about tournament fishing and catfishing, and then it's up to him to defend his game. He said if they can come beat me at my game, let them. But I'm not scared to tell them anything I know.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really good attitude to have. If you take people up under your wing every now and then and get them started and just give them that little push and let them take off, that's usually all it takes. Especially some of these guys that have bass fished before and stuff like this. Guys that's never picked a rod up before, that may be a little different, but
You can ask people like Jason Malone, Heath Malone. These are guys who never fished the Ohio River. Came down, started fishing the ICA. I told him everything I could tell him right off the bat. I told him what kind of baits to use. I said, in my opinion, if you don't know the water that you're fishing and you can get to a dam, go to the dam. If you don't know the water, you don't have time to pre-fish, you can get to a dam, go to a dam, fish a dam. I told him, and I'll tell everybody, if you watch our shows, you'll know a lot of the secrets that I have, and that's pretty much, fishing ledges, fishing bends, river bends, inside bends, outside bends, just really depending on what there is, fishing structure. There's a lot of basic things, that we tell people, but really it's a lot of what it is. It's looking at those things and then seeing if there's other things that go along. Is there a ledge with on the inside bend or on an outside bend? How big is the ledge? Is it holding fish? Is it holding the right kind of fish? Is it a hole or is it just a whole straight ledge? Is there a flat nearby? Is it a mud flat? Is it a sand flat? Is there a clam bed nearby? A mussel bed. There's lots of things that come into it and everything, and when we tell you one thing, it doesn't mean that we're telling you everything all the time, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong either. I mean, it could be accidentally putting you right on the fish just with a general, saying. Now, there's different, of course, there's different rigs, there's different presentations and different baits, and we talk a lot about fresh bait being key. Casey Tudorow came on the show. That's what he said. According to him, that's his secret, fresh bait. That's why they do so good.
If you ever fish with him, you got to sign a confidentiality agreement when you get in the boat. Yeah, I mean, if I was a marketing director at a boat company, I mean, the guys like Tutro and all these teams like this, them guys stand out, and this is the ones that these other great fishermen who already have their feet in the door somewhere else need to help point out to their sponsors, if they're, it's time to, get things spread out, kind of point over and say, hey, there's a guy that's fishing over in the Midwest or on the East Coast. They're young, they're dominating tournaments. Look them up. I'd make them an offer that really do you good. They're good kids. And we're at the point right now that if everybody just starts helping other guys out, the guys might not ever even know that somebody helped them out, and all of a sudden they're approached by a sponsor. Um, that's the kind of help also, besides some fishing tips, that the outstanding guys that already have their feet in the door at places can help the other anglers out also.
And what drives a market, I guess, would be um, participation. The number of people that are joining an event. We got some of the largest events on the Indiana-Kentucky border with Rising Sun, Monsters on the Ohio, um, multiple 120 plus boat tournaments that we have in the area, and now starting to come, other ones starting. We got a 120 plus boat ICA tournament we have out of Turtle Creek every year, um, and a lot of these tournaments like Monsters on the Ohio, Rising Sun, you're not getting a lot of people who are just intimidated. They don't feel they have the knowledge or the boat or whatever it might be to get out there and fish with these guys. And if we were to give them that information and make them feel more empowered and helping them out and being out there and a little like they have a shot, which I tell everybody all the time, if you've got bait in the water, you got a shot.
That's right.
Those fish aren't always sitting in one space. They move, and you might be on the way to where they're going or whatever, and have your bait in the right place. And I just try to. If you get more people involved, you're growing the sport. And by getting more people involved, you really have to empower them. You have to make them feel as if they're comfortable, not uh, you know someone that shouldn't be there. They're not good enough to be fishing against you. Or, any of the crap that does happen.
Yeah,
And go ahead, Chuck.
yeah. You don't see them getting mixed up in all the the sponsor war bashing, and it don't matter who your sponsor is. They'll uh, you know these guys just get along with you. They'll walk up, talk to you and everything, and then you know other guys that are sponsored by the same people, they have to start doing all the bashing. These guys that show very good competitive sportsmanship, and they're getting up there and, you know, week after week, setting a good example. They're the ones that are getting approached by sponsors and asked, for them to come along and, join their team and stuff. And a lot of other guys are like, man, I fished 10 years. How'd you get a sponsor so fast? Um, that's how it's getting. You got to get up there and set a really good example, show sportsmanship, get up on the weigh in, even if you've only got 3 fish. Show your sportsmanship, hang around the whole weigh in, talk to everybody, and that's what the sponsors are looking for. And you know, a lot of good things are going to be happening here next couple of years.
I believe that. I think that as we see more people like Lund and Seark and stuff getting into sponsorship of these tournaments, and it's not just them. It's a lot of other. You guys have to understand that we can't remember all the people that's getting involved with them, but there's a lot of other sponsors. Dave Ashby has done a lot for a lot of different tournament series over the last several years, and Dave's really good with that. Drift Masters, Monster Rod Holders, they all do a lot of good things for tournaments. Rob with Whiskerware supports several tournament trails. Guys like this, when they start getting involved with tournaments and sponsoring these guys and helping them with prizes and awards and different things and donating prizes, it forces the other companies to get into it. I mean, it really does, whether they want to admit it or not. If somebody is giving out $300 or $400 worth of stuff every once in a while to a tournament, and you attend those tournaments, you're going to at least look at them when you go to buy your next product. And the guys that aren't doing it, they should be, because the other guys will eventually eat them up.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised that we haven't seen any big names in our sport already. Standing up there with a Progressive or a Geico or a nationwide jersey on, because all the other sports, those insurance companies and stuff, they jump on board quick. And soon as one of them jumps on board, you'll see Nationwide. Then boom, Geico's got to get in there, and then State Farm, and then everybody's got to have boat insurance more or
So,
less. And then
man,
Absolutely.
I didn't want you
um,
to say anything. I didn't want anybody to say anything about that. That's one of the next people I was going to be going after for sponsors.
I mean, you
Might
got
as well go for the gusto and go after Coca-Cola and Pepsi and get the real money.
Yep.
well, I mean, the people that's involved in the sport right now, I think they're about maxed out, and they just can't keep putting people on and on, because instead of adding more people, they need to be trying to help the people they've already got more.
And they're
So
not the size of companies like I know there's very few guys that get tournament entries paid for or even helped with money wise from sponsors. A lot of sponsors that we have in catfishing just aren't of the size to where they can really do that on any scale at all. I mean,
mhm.
they might have one or two people that they can help out like that, but yeah, I mean, if you can get companies like Progressive or Geico or Coca-Cola, that's when we're starting to take the sport to that next level. There's all these levels, and that is definitely a next level where they're helping guys pay for hotels and entry fees and things like that. There's a few guys that get that done for them, but there's not very many.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
when
don't want to don't get that.
that's when people get to start following these national trails a little bit more, and running for Angler of the Year. There's only a few different people that are really eligible to go fish most of the tournaments and try to become Angler of the Year and stuff. It takes a lot out of your time to be able to do that. And
Well, and it
you
takes a
know,
lot of cash.
yeah, and the more sponsors we can get on board, thinking outside the box is going to be the big deal here in the next couple of years. People's going to have to get out there and try to get the sport more recognized, beat on some doors, and try to open up new doors, and getting, starting to get them sponsors in, and then the other ones will jump on board after they come on.
And it's coming to that. And you was very spot on about the deals with sponsorships and the feuding and stuff. And I don't want to get involved with a bunch of that. But I'm telling you, fellas, the sport cannot grow without them. It cannot. It will max out, and that's as best and as much as it'll ever be. But these kind of companies are the ones that puts the money into the sport, and we have got to get them and support these people. And when you get a sponsor, you've got to show him that you want to be there and that you're going to take care of him, and he'll do things for you. It's just the way it is. And for our sport to grow and get bigger, and I don't ever see it the size of bass fishing, just simply because it got started and marketed very well from the very beginning, and we, as catfishermen, did not do that. It got a slow start, and it was marketed correctly. For the large part, it's still not marketed correctly as far as promoting it for such things as TVs and stuff like that. Now, it's all going to come eventually, but we're
it's
years behind bass and crappie fishing for that.
well, and we've also got a handicap starting out with a stereotype. We've
That's
got a
exactly
stereotype.
right. Yep, I agree.
So we started off with a disadvantage there. I mean, but like you said, we're getting there. It's definitely moving. It's progressing. We're going up levels. There are things that happen, and sponsorships is a whole other episode. We can talk about that later. But as far as doing everything else, you just gotta do what you can for the sport, like we're talking about. Help out with the knowledge, get more people involved. Even getting the kids involved, getting fish in your undies and ask for a Hanes sponsor. Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of runs in line with you and Rob and the bottoms and tops. And
Yeah. I
yeah.
guess they could have some stains and we could get Clorox as a as a sponsorship.
All righty then.
I don't know what it was on Facebook or something, but they were talking about the yellow in the front and the brown in the back underwear, and they already had pre-stained, and it was some sort of joke thing with some pre-stained underwear, whitey tighties.
I've got a pretty good one that I like. The Cardinals. I'd washing the crap right out of your shirt. Ask Chris Workman; he can tell you about that.
That's one of the things I was going to say too was about bass fishing and catfishing. A lot of people think, well, catfishing can't be made. It won't look as fun on TV. That's not the case, because in all honesty, you might not know, but them bass fishing episodes where they're catching all them bass, that can be a week. That could be 2 weeks of filming. That's not them going out and slaying them bass in one afternoon most of the time. And in the same way, we could do the same exact thing with catfishing. You can make catfishing have episodes and look good when they're catching a nice fish, and it's entertaining, and you have the competition going on. There's lots of ways that the same way they market bass fishing, catfishing can be done the same way and be promoted the same way and have the same sort of advertisement money come into.
I believe with the weigh-ins, it can be more exciting.
Yeah.
Well, you have a big basket of bass, and you're going to have what 20, 25 pounds.
Yeah, 40 max.
The first fish that's weighed in at the average catfish tournament could eat them all right there one whack. So I think I said this before too, but we was at Truman Lake one time at a tournament, and for some unknown reason they scheduled a bass tournament and a catfish tournament at the same day at the same ramp. Just so happened the people running the tournament was late getting there, which made it a little easier for launch. But the bass guys all got took off, and we got took off, and we come in and to weigh in, and they're set up one place weighing in fish, and we was setting up in another place weighing in fish, and they're weighing in 2-3 pound bass, and we start dragging them cats out of there, and their crowd just immediately left and come over to watch the real fish being weighed in, because that's what the difference is. It's a real fish and a bait fish. When you have two tournaments like that, and the biggest thing they got to weigh in is 3.5, 4 pounds, and that's the smallest thing that we weighed in that day at that tournament, and the people just absolutely just left them standing there holding the bass.
There has been a few ICA tournaments where the lake that we went to has had a bass tournament on the same day, and like you're saying, a lot of times you'll see a lot of their crowd. If there's that's people's wives and friends and stuff, and they're leaving to go watch, these catfish brought in. They're like, wait a minute.
It's pretty funny.
I'd rather see, even if it's, 15-pound channel cats, they'd rather see that than the bass, the 3-pound bass or whatever. And
absolutely. And there's not a lot of bass tournaments that you'll watch weigh-ins, and there's very few that have 5-6 pound bass. Now, it happens, but there's a lot higher percentage of the big fish being 2.5, 3 pounds than there is 5 or 6.
Now, Ron says lures sell, fresh bait don't. Well, that's not the only thing, and not only that. I mean, just because bass fishing has a ton of gimmicks and things that may or may not work or work at a very low level, catfishing can, it needs that too. I mean, honestly, it has to have that product money coming into it, even if it's bad products. That, and not saying that I'm going to be a sponsor for them or Lyle's going to be a sponsor for them, but if they're there, if they're making the lures that catch catfish, if they're making products that are specifically for catfishing, that's when it's coming along. That's when it's moving the right direction. That's when you're seeing advertising money, more sponsors, bigger sponsors coming along. That's part of it.
Yeah, that's very true.
They're not all going to be, the next great catfish biting, dough bait or whatever. There's going to be some crap in there, and that's just, again, that's a part of it. You got to take the good with the bad.
What is it, Jeff said? If you got to find old Sad Daddy. If you can figure out a way to market old Sad Daddy, you'll be home free.
Yeah, it's going to get on TV. It's going to get good. I mean, I ordered I've been wanting to order it for a while. I got that Catfishing Dream Team video from Stout Video Productions.
Pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. And these guys are the guys who need us to order videos from them so they can make money to go out and do more stuff. And it's going to be guys like these who's going to end up having the show on TV. So when things like this enter the market, it's up to every catfisherman to try to do what he can to support this person because, you know, on the first DVD that he made, he probably didn't even make any money on it.
Oh, I doubt
Um,
it.
so he's just doing it to try to get a start, and try to start making these and probably trying to do more. I mean, he started a production company. He's got the LLC probably. He went through all that and made a video. So, support these guys that are out doing stuff like this, and that's how the sport's gonna grow more and more.
We
These
would like to.
guys, these guys got connections. They know the Bill Dance producers, productions. They know all these other fishing show guys, and they're the ones that can get us where we need to be. Also,
Yeah. Well, I think we're about an hour and 10 minutes, so go ahead and close it out. And you got anything to close on there, Chuck?
um, I just want to remind everybody we got the Daniel and the Alabama Catfish Trails has a tournament on Lake Wilson this coming Saturday from 7 to 4, putting in at Safety Harbor, which is really close to Wheeler Dam. And 2 weeks away is going to be the Pickwick Wilson Sheffield Cabela's tournament. So this would be a very good time for you to come pre-fish Wilson because even though Cabela's is putting in at Pickwick, you're going to be able to lock through to Wilson if you want to, and it's a very short lake, so this would be a good chance to do some pre-fishing also.
All right. Christopher Dunaway wants to know if you can type in on the chat there where he might be able to get that video at. You can let everybody know.
Okay.
But Lyle.
Well, I just want to remind everybody that first Twisted Cat Outdoor Tournament will be March 21st. The other one was canceled due to bad weather conditions, so come on down and join us. $100 entry fee, 7 o'clock launch, 3 o'clock weigh-in. Should be a great time. We're getting a lot of people really wanting to get out and do some fishing, and this weather is really going to make that explode, I think. So it'd be nice to see a big crowd down there and everybody catch a bunch of fish. I know they're putting a lot of fish in the boat. I'm not hearing great weights, but lots and lots of fish. And by the time it rolls around, people have found them big ones, and it'll be a great show. So come see us. I haven't heard the final on the Kansas City Catfish Tournament that was held down at the Lake Ozark this last weekend. We didn't get to make it. I had some company come in, and we didn't get to go, but. I don't know much else about it at all, other than I seen somebody that got might have been Chris Jones that placed somewhere out of the top five or around the top five. That's about all I know. I haven't really heard or seen too much out of it. I don't know how the fishing was. I do know some guys that was fishing the Missouri River, and they got into some really good fish over the weekend too. So get out and get going. This warm weather is going to get everybody stirred up, and the tournaments will start back up, and the guys going out fun fishing will be out every weekend or through the week after they're retired or whatever. And we're going to start seeing lots of pictures of good fish here really, really soon.
All right. Um, Again, we want to apologize for last week. We know that we had the technical difficulties. It wasn't our fault. That was with Google Hangouts. We've been doing this for about a year, and that was the first real problem that Google Hangouts has had. So, well, maybe first or second, but very few for a year long going on. So again, we apologize for that. There is more advertising spots available on the website. You see how much they are. I got the little advertisement on there. $50 for 6 months, $30 for 3 months. If you're interested in any of those, get a hold of me. Um, also, this March 21st for the ICA, there's the Turtle Creek Reservoir. That's the one that I was telling you it'll probably have over 120 boats. Normally about every year. That's only a $10 per boat entry fee. Hoosier Energy adds $2,750 to that tournament, and it pays out 25 places normally. First place being $750, and then going down from there. I'm planning on being at that again with my wife this year. We got second place last year. Hopefully we were only out of it by 2 ounces last year. Hopefully we can do what we did and do a repeat, maybe even get first place this year. I look forward to seeing anybody out there that wants to come out. I'm sorry I didn't talk a lot. I felt pretty bad this show. And congrats again to Slackline Catter for placing his order with Whiskerware last week and getting his free hoodie along with his order. Also, thanks to, let me see real quick. I know somebody posted it while I was, Robert Jackson, I'm sorry. Robert Jackson posted a picture while we were doing the show of his wife wearing the Whiskerware hoodie. So thank you for posting that on our timeline. Like I said, we love seeing things like this. So thanks again, everybody. Until next week, if you do go out fishing, there is a lot of snow melt. Rivers are popping up pretty high. They're going to be pretty unsafe. So try to stay safe and use the common sense. And if it ain't worth being out there, don't get out there. I know you probably want, if you're like me, you want to be out there. I'd love to be fishing right now.
You feel like you need to be.
I know. I think that's the only thing that's gonna make me feel better right now.
Fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that cures all.
Yeah. So until next time, guys, make sure if you do go fishing, just stay out of my spot. Don't go to it. Don't.